They created this institution that we now know as the Federal Reserve, which is a private institution of international bankers, some of whom we don't even know who they are, most of whom are not citizens of the United States of America. What we have here is a fraud. We have, we create money out of thin air. We create a fiat money supply that's backed by nothing. There's nothing of substance behind our supposed wealth. We've become the greatest debtor nation in the history of the world. We're $10 trillion in debt and growing. There's no end in sight, and the only answer that they can come up with is we got to borrow more money.
They tried to get it through Congress under the name the Aldrich Federal Reserve Act. But since Aldrich was so tied to the international banking system, the members of Congress under the leadership of President Taft, they voted it out. So they went back to the drawing board and they redid it. And they pushed it through on December the 22nd, 1913, just as Congress was about to break for the Christmas recess. Wanting to get home quick, they pushed it through. And the Federal Reserve Act became law.
Admiral Blair, who I greatly respect, have labeled cybersecurity perpetrated through the internet as the #1 national hazard of attack on the homeland in West Virginia, in West Virginia, America, anywhere else. So, I mean, it really almost makes you ask the question, would it have been better if we'd never invented the internet and had to use paper and pencil or what? It is a fearsome, awesome problem.
Why in the world does the American government borrow money from the banks when they have the ability to create it themselves without borrowing it and paying interest on it? Why? And nobody can answer that question. Not one politician ever raises that. Why does the American government borrow money when they can create it without paying interest?
The entire purpose of all these websites is to incite violent acts against the United States.
Yes.
We got a first responsibility to protect ourselves. No society wants to provide so much freedom that it amounts to a kind of suicide pact.
Right.
And that's why I'm going to continue the pressure on Google and YouTube, and if necessary, see if we can come up with a law.
First of all, the federal income tax is completely unconstitutional, as it is a direct, unapportioned tax. All direct taxes have to be apportioned to be legal based on the Constitution. Secondly, the required number of states in order to ratify the amendment to allow the income tax was never met, and this has even been cited in modern court cases. Third, at the present day, roughly 35% of the average worker's income is taken from them via this tax. That means you work 4 months out of the year to fulfill this tax obligation. And guess where that money goes? It goes to pay the interest on the currency being produced by the fraudulent Federal Reserve Bank, a system that does not have to exist at all. Not 1 cent of this tax goes towards any governmental program whatsoever. Not 1 cent. The money you make working 4 months out of the year goes almost literally into the pockets of the international bankers who own the private Federal Reserve Bank. And fourth, even with the fraudulent government claim as to the legality of the income tax, there is literally no statute, no law in existence that requires you to pay this tax. Period.
they same bankers put money behind Woodrow Wilson. And Woodrow Wilson sold the American presidency to the international bankers. He was elected in 1912, and in 1913, the Federal Reserve Act became law. Like Rothschild said, he don't care who rules, as long as he controls the purse string.
Evil is evil. If you vote for one that you think is a little less, actually you get tricked into that. You think that you vote for a Republican to balance the budget, and they're worse than the Democrats. That's what the people are sick and tired of. You vote for the Democrats to end the war, and they expand the war as much as the Republicans. We go to overseas and fight wars to promote democracy. At the same time, we listen to these glib debates going on that's really irrelevant to these four important issues.
We are now over $9 trillion in debt. And what solution are they offering? None. Nothing. You don't hear one word in these debates about the debt. Why? Because they're equally responsible, and it's indefensible. It is indefensible.
You can't get on debates, you can't get on the ballots, the parties are the same, there's really no choice in the system. We don't have good democratic process here.